I had this idea just as the world was going to go nuts with ChatGPT, just as everybody was going to start talking about generative AI because of ChatGPT. So basically at the end of 2022, start of 2023, I started reporting the book. I was ready to hear that this was overhyped, that the product itself wasn't quite ready, that maybe in a few years it'll be amazing, but I just thought these chatbots from the moment I used them were like sorcery. They were just like magic. They're really good. I think they're limited. I think people are investing too much power. They shouldn't run your company. They shouldn't run your life. But just as a powerful tool, so again, I was ready to be a skeptic, and I was very quickly a true believer that AI is just a big transformative technology, that this is the start of some kind of industrial revolution. There's a lot of risk. That the idea that this powerful technology is in the hands of just a few big tech companies and just a few people, well, first off, there's a geographical risk. There's basically China and the United States, and that's where most of the advances are coming from, but it's a much wider world than just the US or China. I think that AI, especially, it's threatening our apex status as, the strongest, the smartest beings on Earth. We're investing in, they're going to be our personal agents, they're going to know everything about us. I think there's a trust factor. I think there's a huge trust factor that just, a few people, typically just guys living in Silicon Valley, are going to make all these big decisions. I think that's a really bad idea. It has to be a broader group making decisions about where this technology is going. I wish there were historians and sociologists and activists and a much broader range of people, just in every sense of that word, geographically, racially, ethnically, and all. And that's not what's going on, and that does worry me, that it's basically the same big tech companies that have been running things for the past few decades, past couple of decades. There's a lot of trepidation around AI, and I think that is an advantage the Europeans have, that they're putting sensible guardrails in place so people could trust this. AI agents is one of the big things you hear about nowadays, this idea that we'll all have a personal assistant like only the wealthy could have. A personal assistant is going to know everything about you, but do I trust it if it's the same big tech companies that aren't really paying attention to trust and safety issues? AI is a huge energy hog. Eats up a lot of power, you need a lot of electricity, and it started to really strain the grid in the United States to the point where I think there's going to start to being power failures and stuff in the next few years. China, though, the opposite. They're just increasing capacity. In fact, they're adding another United States worth of capacity every 18 months, and where in the U.S. we're adding a few gigabytes a year. So yeah, it's going to be a competition, and it's a close one. But let me just say, it's not like China wins, United States loses, or vice versa. It's in different categories. There's many races, I guess I'm trying to say. Right now the U.S. chips are by far and away the preferred chips. That could change. The large language models, the models that create video or create images. So there'll be many races. I think it's going to be this cat and mouse game where, okay, we now have a powerful tool that could spot the kind of deep fakes and help us understand that that's a deep fake, but then the folks on the other side are going to improve technology-wise. So it's just going to be a race where sometimes the advantage is on one side, sometimes the advantage is on the other. And I think that's kind of true across the board. Security. AI is a terrific tool for security. Like, oh wait, there's a pattern that's being broken, that's suspicious going on. It can send up an alert. But on the other hand, AI could be used by folks with bad intentions to manipulate and fool people. So again, I think it's this cat and mouse game that it's going to go back and forth.